This is Jacob Keyes. He's enlisted within the United Nations Space Command and holds the rank of Lieutenant something or another. He's with the Captain Halsey, who works for the Office of Naval Intelligence. She currently runs the Spartan-II project, the spiritual successor to the Orion project that was so good, Orion soldiers were later referred to as Spartan-Is. Halsey is looking for candidates for a new program to defeat the insurrectionists who are best considered as space ISIS and left at that. Keyes is a bit out of the loop and confused as to what's happening, but that's fine because Halsey clearly is as well, since she decided to make a child a super soldier by having him predict a coin flip. She's picked 74 of the kids, just like John, to become candidates for the Spartan-II project, and they were likely picked by similar bullshit. How'd you pick Linda, Halsey? Did you ever predict a dice roll? Turns out, though, that Halsey's little Frankenstein experiment to kidnap and genetically enhance children isn't exactly sanctioned by her superiors. All of the preliminary research shows that not even half the test subjects will survive the procedures, but she did it anyway. To cover her tracks, Halsey creates flash clones of the kids and swaps them out, leaving the family none the wiser. Issue is, the clones died within weeks, leaving Halsey forced to use the actual children and not just clones. She felt the need to point that out. The kids are conscripted into active service and immediately begin grueling training under Senior Petty Officer Franklin Menendez, who just fucking hates kids. Quite a few of them die during his early training, but Halsey only refers to them as dropouts. Imagine if university worked the same way. That'd be right scary. So to really dig in that hatred of children, Menendez drops the kids off in an icy forest in the middle of nowhere. They're each given a fragment of a map and dropped into separate locations. John, being a quick thinker, manages to get the kids to group up and combine their maps, which they follow to a UNSC Pelican guarded by armed personnel who were not in uniform and whom John didn't immediately recognize. They all then proceed to promptly beat the men half to death and steal the Pelican. As a punishment for that bullshit, of which John has gone away with far too much already, John is promoted to squad leader because of course he is. As a reward, Halsey begins genetic alteration. The procedures kill 36% of the Spartans, leaving 33 post-augmentation. John doesn't like that, so he goes to the gym to make himself feel better. Issue is, it's a gym frequented by orbital drop shot troopers, big motherfuckers known for dropping from orbit to kick ass. The ODSTs aren't too pleased to have a runt in the gym, and I can't imagine they were very happy after John killed 2 of them in the resulting brawl. Remember, these Spartans were designed to combat insurrectionists who were just assholes with guns. John, as a 14-year-old upstart, beat up 4 grown-ass, tough-ass men in an uneven fight. But then, luckily for Halsey, who was a verified war criminal at this stage and obviously fucking crazy, the Covenant shows up. It's about now that the Covenant blows through Harvest, taking the planet and destroying everything. After Harvest, the current Vice Admiral of the UNSC, Preston Cole, creates a new law that acts to prevent the Covenant from finding further human worlds by destroying navigational data, AI, and forcing ships retreating from the alien force to jump anywhere so long as it's not near Earth, even making blind slip-space jumps. Despite having a long, boring name, this became known as the Cole Protocol. Halsey, now aware of the looming Covenant threat, sends John and his team to capture an insurrectionist leader because that's what a smart person would do in that scenario. John gets hit, shit goes a bit south, but they nick the bastard and bring him back to Reach, proving the Spartans are combat ready. She bundles the Spartans and rushes to Chi Ceti 4, where the Mjolnir armor is being tested, though how someone was testing it is beyond me, since every non-augmented test subject died from the strength of the armor's reactivity, because sure, the captain of their ship, the UNSC Commonwealth, doesn't quite understand the importance of the ghost at the edge of the system, completely unaware that the Covenant can perform intra-system slip-space jumps, so he inevitably ends up in a dumbass fight with the fuckers who just happen to be in the area for zero fucking discernible reason. The Commonwealth uses a nuclear missile to annihilate a small portion of their own forces in the hopes they can take down the Covenant ship, but the advanced alien energy shielding, which has Halsey drooling, mind you, ensures the missile barely scratches the ship. The Covenant fuck off to perform what little repairs they have to, and Halsey takes the Spartans to the planet. The Spartans get to the planet where they're introduced to Mjolnir, a super armor that increases speed and strength by a factor of 5. Having picked up a suit each, Blue Team decides they're going to kill an entire cruiser all on their own. Remember, not even a Shiva-class nuke, which are all sorts of fucked, could scratch the thing. John's plan? Grab a Havoc-class nuke, Shiva's little cousin, and hope for the best. They slip in under the shield, entering the cruiser from a hole torn into it in the earlier conflict. During the mission, Sam takes a plasma pistol to the chest, saving John's life. However, since his suit is ruptured and he can't leave the same way they came in, he stays behind to arm the nuke, which is something I suppose we're meant to care about, but honestly, this is the first time I've mentioned him in the entire recap, so he can't matter that much. With that, the Spartan-IIs are now considered humanity's best defense against the alien threat. Emboldened by this victory, John is then sent to Sigma Octanus 4 to recover the planet from the Covenant, where he decides the best course of action is to nuke the fuckers. Because, you know, his original, if nothing else. While John is on the planet, Keyes, who's been promoted to commander and is captaining the UNSC Iroquois, notices the Covenant slaughter of the ships in the system are simply distracted from a ship orbiting around Octanus 4 and then proceeds to ram that ship until it's dead. Despite John's insistence that human survivors would not be found in the city, Red Team finds survivors. John sends Green Team to assist them and takes Blue Team to the Natural History Museum, and if those teams are confusing, don't worry because they won't fucking matter in about 3 minutes. In the museum, Blue Team finds a large rock. John, in his infinite fucking wisdom, decides this rock is an important rock. In his defense, he is kinda right, but still, fuck that, it's a rock. He is called out for it, but when his team asks him what he cares about a rock for, his only argument is that the Covenant, the conglomerate of alien races humanity barely understands, wants it. They might eat rocks, John! Maybe they just like their snacks to have cultural significance, you moron! Commander Keyes intercepts the Covenant transmission so he can later give it to Oni, though Cortana, who we'll meet in a second, keeps a copy of the data. The Spartans reconnect with the Iroquois, which departs for Reach, but they're tagged with a homing beacon while they do so. On Reach, Commander Keyes is given command of a new ship, a crappy frigate known for being overlarge, slow as anything, but admittedly durable. The entire Halcyon class was due to be scrapped within recent memory, but now Keyes was in charge of the UNSC Pillar of Autumn. When the Autumn eventually flees Reach in the coming times, immediately preceding the events of Combat Evolved, Cortana uses the data pulled from the Covenant transmission to guide her random jump. Can you guess who had ridden on those rocks? It wasn't Covenant, and it sure as shit wasn't humanity. John, now more Master Chief than Boy, is given upgrades to his neural implants. Halsey shows him the new Mark V Mjolnir armor, now complete with energy shields, and presents him with a new AI named Cortana. Together, the two humiliate a squad of UNSC soldiers deployed to test their capabilities. Amongst the other complete bullcrap the two pull off, John, like an arsehole, blocks a rocket with his arms, and then proves that Spartans make their own luck. To thank the Colonel in charge of the exercise, Cortana casually creates a transaction proving the Colonel was in a brothel on some distant planet, and then moved him from Reach to the front lines of the Covenant War to allow him some time away to take a break from his newfound problems at home, because Cortana is a fucking psychopath. Chief and his team are directed to capture a prophet, religious and tactical leaders of the Covenant. Because the alien fuckers are helpful beyond belief, they bring an entire fleet to Reach, though they do forget to bring a prophet. John and his remaining Spartan-IIs play a large role in defending the planet, though most of them are killed during the battle. However, they weren't the only defense. Immeasurable quantities of UNSC personnel and a handful of Spartan-III operatives were deployed to Reach, and the planet held out to the bitter end. Oh yeah, you heard that right. A third generation? I smell a retcon. Let's go ahead and rewind that clock a little. Those soldiers Chief and Cortana humiliated were owned by one Colonel James Ackerson, whose life Cortana made much, much more difficult for no reason. As it turns out, however, later lore shows that Ackerson was himself making Halsey's life much more difficult. It all gets a little contradictory from here on out, but here goes nothing. You know how it goes with the military. The Covenant were kicking ass, there were only 30 Spartan-IIs, Halsey refused to make more because the genetic requirements were too strict, and because the Covenant were kicking their asses, Oni was forced to go public with the Spartan-II project, and they really, really didn't like that. So they gave the new project to James Ackerson, who pitched the initial idea. Ackerson managed to develop a new augmentation process that boasted a 100% survival rate because new and shiny things just have to be better. However, Ackerson Spartans weren't issued with Mjolnir armor, instead being given a weaker semi-powered infiltration armor, or SPI armor, that looks half as cool as Mjolnir does, but is completely fucking useless. The Spartans were all still abducted as children, of course, but now they were churning out 300 of them at a time, who were then all immediately slaughtered in groups. So the program had a few rough patches. Alpha Company was killed during Operation Prometheus, a mission designed to destroy Covenant shipyard, issue being it accidentally destroyed Alpha Company too. However, Ackerson extracted a couple of Spartans from Alpha Company before they were assigned the mission and gave those extracted Spartans access to Mjolnir armor. Amongst the handful of spared soldiers were Spartans Carter, June, Emil, and Thom, the poor bastard. With defeat on his mind, Ackerson gave it another whirl. Beta Company, another 300 Spartans, Cat and Spartan B312, the player character in Halo Reach, both pulled from duty prematurely, leaving all but 2 of the soldiers assigned to Operation Torpedo to be killed. I won't talk about Gamma Company, it's just the same thing, really. A bit more complicated, that's about it. But now, of course, we have the full cast of Noble Team. Spartans Carter, Kat, Emil, June, Thom, and George, the only Spartan-II of the team, are all assigned to perform various missions together, ultimately resulting in Thom's death. Again, it's not that important, he's never mentioned outside of a single trailer. So, Noble Team, now with Spartan B312 in tow, are assigned to Reach to investigate possible insurrectionist activity at Visegrad. And that's the story so far. Because Cortana is a fucking psychopath. Halo 5 makes more sense with that in mind.